we've talked a lot about patient-oriented research. So what I'm going to be talking about is specifically with youth. And I work at a place called YouthNet, and our mandate is youth engagement. And even if you're looking to inform or consult with youth specifically, this will hopefully be really helpful. Yeah, and so what we did is that we do some focus groups in the Ottawa community, and we run youth programs, and so these programs are around a coping strategy. So we have yoga and pens and paints, and they're really fun. But the whole point was, we had a survey for these focus groups and more qualitative and quantitative research, but we didn't really have a survey for a way to capture input and youth feedback for our program evaluations, and so we could do that a lot better. And so this was my project to do, and I started a youth research advisory committee, and I learned a lot from it, and definitely not easy for sure. But first of all, why is it important? Oh no. Oh. Sorry, that's okay, this is the wrong PDF. I don't need my slides. That's all good. And yeah, so why is it important to engage youth in research specifically? So there's a saying that says youth engagement is like baking a cake. And if you get youth at the end, they're just there to decorate. And that's basically the point. If you have a product like this cake at the end, you're not really getting a youth voice in that, right? It's just kind of cake. Frosting makes it better, but it could be a lot better than that and can be more representative. And just to give you a snapshot, there's most of our youth that do come through YouthNet. And like Dr. Gray was saying, a lot of youth do struggle with suicidal thoughts, and they do attempt. And for us, 36% of youth do attempt in one point of their life. This was 2015 to 2017, and 63% of youth had thoughts at one point in their life, and often was reoccurring. And they're all across Ottawa, and most of our youth do come from Orleans. So specifically looking at our youth programs, we were like, okay, well, what do we do about this? So we started a youth research advisory committee, and so that was, we did that in the summer, and we were looking at this survey, and we were like, you know what, we need a brand new survey. This isn't working. We could do things so much better. Why don't we just start from scratch? So started again in the winter, started a youth research advisory committee, a new group of youth, some youth who were also part of it from before, and we were like, okay, well, what is the point of this? What are our goals, and what are we looking to do? And there was a few things that I learned specifically from that, and that youth were very vocal about doing, and what was important to engage in that. And so this was more of a qualitative kind of piece to that as well. And youth are super vocal about what isn't working, and specifically with what you're doing wrong, which is a really great way of learning. And first of all, for example, using accessible language. And what does that mean? Using language that you don't need a degree to understand. And that was mentioned a lot by people throughout the day, but even just, I was using this word like outcome sometimes, and you get that glazed look, being like, what do you even mean by that? And it's not about dumbing down your content, it's really about using language that's accessible to everybody. And that was brought up a lot of like, well, research has this reputation of being, the elite going down, and you need really big glasses to do it, and you need to be super smart, right? And has nothing to do with vision, really, as I'm sure you guys all know. But it's hard for youth, and I think Jessica mentioned it, researchers can seem like scary dragons, and using that language can really break down that barrier as well. Another thing is making it fun, and what we do at YouthNet with anything is that we want to make them comfortable, so we ask them about their pronouns. Because a lot of youth, even if they identify as male or female, they like to have another option, and that's always brought up as something really important, but also icebreakers. So even having an activity in the beginning that kind of puts down, makes it more comfortable for that youth in that space, and also with you as that person who's, you know, asking those tough questions, because it can be really tough to give input for whatever it is, like a research project. And this was a specific survey, you know, it was specific to program evaluation, but we had a goal in mind. So that's always pretty tough. And it's also needs to be meaningful for them. So you're having the opportunity to get their perspective, which is really great. But what are they getting from it? You know, and honorariums can really help with this as well. But what I mostly learned from this is that youth are really awesome, but they really want to be part of research in some way, and we often don't give them the opportunity to be a part of that process, and so many people want to be a part of that process. And yeah, and it's up to us and our responsibility to kind of bridge that gap as well, and to do that in a way that's engaging, because they're down to work, but they're not paid to be there unless you're giving them an honorarium, which is really great. And another thing is seeking diversity. So, like mentioned before, research can be more accessible for certain groups of youth, and some youth who may opt out because they think that research is for a certain kind of person, which we know isn't true, and it's really important to make that bridge and for us to seek that representation for people whose voice may not be heard. And there's 3 things that we can do. One is we can put a face to the project, and having someone that can talk about the project who is youth friendly and who can be genuine, and just answer any questions that they may have, and meeting face to face and having a better understanding and to being there face to face with youth makes a really big difference. And number 2 is that we can use youth partnerships as well. So with your study or whatever we're doing, use those connections in the community to reach out to youth who may want to be a part of your project but just doesn't know about it. And the people in the community know their youth best, and they know, you know, who would even be interested, but that's a great an ally to get into their community center and to get an opportunity to talk about what you're doing as well. Yeah, and it's just really incredible to do, and it's also about being accessible. So physically accessible if you're far. Having bus tickets is really essential, because a lot of the time, like Elise was saying, is that it's really, there's hidden costs to what you're doing as well, and youth have very much vocalized that. It's part of what our practice as well, to get bus tickets all the time, but it's those hidden costs. And food is always mentioned. It's the number 1 thing to include. You need food. It's the thing. And if there is no food, or if you have those tiny little snacks, or there's Nutri-Grain bars that don't really fill you up, but that are kind of good, but not enough, you'll know. That's not enough. Yeah, and that's basically it, and kind of a summation, especially. And it sounds simple, and youth have a voice, but it's just really for them to be heard. And yeah, it's just having more using language that is available and easily understood by all youth. And if you need a degree, that's not accessible language. Seeking diversity, making it fun can make a world of a difference. Thank you.